First of all, let me begin by welcoming the panel, but most importantly, our chief guest, Sania Nishtar. I should say Senator Sania Nishtar. Senator Saiba, much congratulations to a well-deserved senatorship. We're looking forward to many good things from you. So you've always been there as a help to PIT and mashallah leading the welfare efforts of the country. It's a very noble venture. And we are very pleased that you have got this senatorship. I think it's going to be a very good thing for Pakistan to have very good technocrats like you in the Senate. Let me just quickly introduce our panel. We've got Dr. Faisal Rafiq, CEO of Sehat Sahulat Program, Ministry of Health Services. Then we've also got Dr. Shabnam Sarfraz, who is motivated this webinar, member social sector in the Ministry of Planning, another very eminent person. Then we've got our own Dr. Mahmood Khalid, health economist at PIDE. And then we've got Saira Rizvi Jafri, assistant professor at FC College Lahore. So we've got eminent people. But before I call everybody, let me invite Dr. Sania Nishtar to give us her overview of the program and her thoughts on the Sehat Sahulat program or the welfare program of the government. Sania, baby. Dr. Sania, please, the floor is yours.
Assalamu alaikum and good morning. Thank you, Nadeem Saab. Thank you, PIDE, for organizing this series, for hosting this very important webinar. My sense is that this is a series of webinars you're holding on many matters of public policy. So I really want to thank you for your leadership in this area. Let me at the outset say that I regard intellectual inputs by academics into the arena of public policy absolutely fundamental. Until very recently, I was on your side of the table. And I think that if public policy is not informed by rigorous evidence, you tend to make a mistake right at inception. And it is not just at inception, evidence need to inform all aspects of public policy formulation, as well as implementation, as well as monitoring. So I'm really very pleased that PIDE has taken a lead, and I'm really very pleased that Nadeem Saab, it is under your leadership that the organization has taken this very important turn. As you're aware, a couple of weeks ago, we started a discourse with you on street hawkers. And we moved very quickly. You were very kind in seconding an expert who now sits in the Ministry of Poverty Alleviation's delivery unit. And there is a very proactive partnership that has emerged with the Ministry of Poverty Alleviation under the framework of ASAS, PIDE, CDA, and the municipality of Islamabad working towards a street hawkers initiative. So I just wanted to allude to this, just to make an important point that the participation of public officials, which I am now, in discourses hosted by academia is not just lip service. It has a very important purpose. It has a very important practical purpose, because the Street Hawkers Initiative has practically demonstrated to us the value of drawing on evidence, the value on drawing on expertise, the value of proactive collaboration with a think tank. And as far as I'm concerned, we have every intention of furthering this. So I also want to thank you, Nadeem, for a collaboration that we forged several months ago, which is very proactively working now. So I'm here to listen to a few colleagues, and then perhaps, if you're okay, I can give my comments rather than making a speech right at the very outset, which I don't have a written speech. So perhaps I can listen to Faisal, and I can listen to Shabnam, and I'm here for another 30 minutes. And then perhaps I can make some brief comments, if that's okay with you.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. I think that's great. That's really nice of you to be prepared to listen to the presentation. So without further ado, I'll go to Dr. Faisal Rafiq. Dr. Saab, you're the CEO of Sehat Sahulat. Please educate us, tell us on what the framework, what the design, things that you have worked on. Thank you, Dr. Saab. Floor is yours.
Assalamu alaikum ji. Thank you very much, ji. Dr. Sania, thank you very much for your kind words about the program. And for the P-Abide, I really appreciate that they have started this field, this online session, so we can also
थोड़ी
contribute
आवाज
to
कम
the.
आ रही है.
आवाज बहुत कम है.
Can,
Faisal
can you
Saab,
hear me?
can you get
Can you
closer to
hear
the
me?
mic?
Can
Now
you
it's
hear
better.
me now?
Gee, we
Thank
can.
you very
And
much.
switch on your camera, Faisal Saab. That'll be good for the viewers.
Professor PT. Thank you very much, ji. Dr. Sania, for the kind words, and PI, I'm very
Faisal Saab,
really
थोड़ा सा
appreciative.
और volume ऊंचा करें if possible. Speak into the mic a little.
I really appreciate the support of the PID to have these type of sessions for the Sehat Sahulat program and other social health protection initiative. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much, ji. As everybody know, that the Sehat Sahulat program is a social health protection initiative of the federal and the participating provincial governments, in which we started from the below poverty families based on national socioeconomic registry data. We were providing these families who are below poverty with a health card through which they can get indoor hospitalization services from the impanel hospitals. So the program was designed with keeping in view the catastrophic health expenditures which families has to bear to get the indoor healthcare services. The treatments which are being offered by the program are those treatments on which the families spend most of their income if those diseases happen or the treatments are to be sorted, and the families sell their assets and their savings just to get those treatments from the hospitals. So keeping in view that activities, the program was designed just to provide the financial protection to families against those catastrophic healthcare expenditures. The services which are being covered by the program includes the oncology services, the cardiology services, which include the stunts, the open heart surgeries, the aortic valves, and other type of services. In cancer, we were providing services for the chemotherapy, for radiotherapy, and for the surgical intervention which are required for the debulking of the cancers. We're also providing services for the renal failure, like in dialysis, plus also the burn management and the ventilatory support if the patient require, if there is a respiratory failure in the patient. And in minor surgeries, we were also covering all sort of abdominal surgeries, the medical procedures for which the patient has to be admitted. So we started with the program with the below poverty, but gradually then with the political support, the program is slowly gradually expanding to the other socio-economic condition strata of the families. For example, recently the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa has expanded the Sehat Sahulat program to their families who have a permanent residential address on their CNIC of the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Similarly, the federal government has also expanded the social health protection to all families of Azad Jammu and Kashmir and the Tharparkar district, including the families who are the transgender families and the families who are disabled and are registered in Nadra as disabled and transgender. Right now, the federal government is also working on the proposal in which the program is going to be expanded in Islamabad district and the district of Gilgit-Baltistan. Similarly, the Punjab is also working, following the footsteps of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa in expanding their services to all permanent residents of Punjab districts. But these three districts, the three regions, the Punjab, the Islamabad, and the Gilgit-Baltistan, will be started during this year 2021. However, the KP and the Azad Jammu and Kashmir have been started as we are speaking. So the Social Health Protection Initiative is slowly expanding to provide the financial protection for all the families inside the inside its domain. The program, unfortunately, has not been able to start in the province of Sindh and Balochistan. The reason basically is the 18th amendment in the constitution, on which the responsibilities of health has been shifted to provincial governments. The provincial government of Sindh is working, as per their comments, they are working on providing the secondary level facilities and the primary healthcare services for their families, and they are not yet made their mind on investing in the indoor healthcare services for financial protection. While the government of Balochistan, they have recently contacted the federal government, and they are willing to expand the program in the Balochistan, but still we have to receive any written request from the provincial government. Well, shorting the point, the Sehat Solar program is the social health protection initiative in which we are providing financial health protection to families who are living below poverty line. Why? Because it's envisaged that if the families can spend that amount instead of on health, if they can spend on their own socioeconomic conditions, so they will be in a better position to lift them out from the poverty or their current socioeconomic status. So I think keeping in view the health expenditure, out of pocket expenditure in Pakistan, which is almost more than 60%, if we consider that the spending on the indoor healthcare services, so I think the Sehat Solar program is one of the key strategies of the program of the government of Pakistan, in which the poverty can be alleviated among those families. And I think that is the complete thing which we are working on. And the second thing on which we are working is to improve the quality of the services which are to be provided to these families. We do impanel a certain standard of certain hospitals to provide services. We negotiate packages with the hospitals, but we are working on improving the quality of services which are to be provided to the families. And I think this is what we are doing, one thing. And the second thing is institutionalization. Right now in the federal government, the program is still a PSDB funded program, and we are working on the proposals through which we can shift the program from the development side to a non-development side. Which form, this still being debated inside the Ministry of National Health Services, and I think soon we will be able to finalize in which direction we are going to make. But whatever the direction is, it has to be for the benefits of the families in Pakistan. And I think we should, as education is a part of the constitution, which is to be provided to the family by the program, I think health should also be the component in the constitution, which should be taken as the responsibility of a social government to be delivered to its families. Thank you very much.
Dr. Nadeem, kindly sir unmute yourself.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Rafiq. That is a very good overview. Thank you. I'll move on to Dr. Shabnam Sarfaraz, Member Social Sector. And Dr. Sab, can you briefly give your thoughts so that I can go back to Sania? Or Dr. Sania, if you have less time, then we'll come back to you first. Go ahead, Shabnam. If you can do a quick 5 minutes, then we'll come back to you later. You can
okay. Thank you so much, and thank you for arranging this, because this is a challenging debate at the Planning Commission, as well as we receive proposals for expansion of the Sehat Sahulat program. Our main concerns at the moment when we are reviewing these expansion proposals coming to us are the limited number of health facilities which actually need to be at the back end to be able to commit to what we are offering through these Sehat Sahulat cards. Another challenge that we face is that the impaneled hospitals include both the public sector as well as the private sector hospitals. And in fact, the public sector hospitals are growing in number. And that is again creating a challenge, because the public sector hospitals, we are providing them budget. They're not at the moment just acting as independent entities. So they're getting budgets from the government for their operations as well. And again, coming through the Sehat Sahulat program, is also, providing the monies are flowing from there as well, and this needs to be looked at. There is low utilization of the health insurance schemes amongst the enrolled families, which is probably because in many of the districts where we have issued the cards, we do not have empaneled facilities. Faisal just spoke about Balochistan, so we were making this package for, for the less developed districts of Balochistan. And we just found that there was not even a single facility which was on panel, neither the private sector nor the public sector. So then the choice that is there for the residents is to go to Karachi for, availing this, which again has its own, limitation, and that speaks of the low utilization to some extent. There is a growing percentage of unutilized premium, which is concerning. And this is resulting in additional expense to the state. We are urging a health insurance policy and a legislative framework to be in place to guide investments and sustainable implementation of project finance out of the development funds before embarking on any further expansions. There is certainly a need for a robust institutional structure to be in place for auditing, these the works that are ongoing. It is also felt that there is a need for a business plan and an exit strategy here, as the project cannot be funded out of the PSDP or the ADPs indefinitely. The scale of operation requires, comprehensive third-party monitoring systems, which Faisal and his team are working on. And I think there is, I think Pakistan has yet to exploit the full potential of approaches which are being used by other countries, such as prepaid, premium-based state insurances, private supplementary insurances, co-payment, employer-sponsored insurances, micro-insurances, and these shared funds. So there is a need to have, this entire mix coming in there. These are some of the things that I just wanted to highlight in the interest of time, because I would really want to hear Sania, and I have a few slides if I get the time, because I also have to run for another meeting at 11.
No, we'll bring you in next after Dr. Sania. We'll bring you in next. Okay. Dr. Sania, please go ahead.
Thank you, Nadeem. And I just wanted to, both my colleagues from the government system to present first. Just to put things in perspective, as you know, welfare is very much a priority for the present government. Asas program is the main instrument through which that is being achieved. As of today, Asas started as a multi-sectoral, multi-component program back in March 2019. And at that time, Asas it started with 115 components. Today, it has 268 components with 34 implementing agencies and 7 time-bound outcome-based targets. One of the 7 time-bound outcome-based targets is universal health coverage for 10 million families. And the main instrument for that is the Sehat Sahulat program. Very important and powerful initiative, but it also has many limitations. And I think that Shabnam has outlined some of those limitations. Now, the executing agency for the Sehat Sahulat program is the Ministry of National Health Services. There are cost-sharing arrangements with 3 of the 4 provinces. So Asas had to come up with another instrument to bridge the gaps of the Sehat Sahulat program. One of the gaps is that not all hospitals are empaneled, and a lot of public hospitals are not empaneled. But as opposed to that, the poor man will land in public hospitals because from a feasibility perspective, that is what is most feasible for them. So we've come up with a program which dovetails with Sehat Sahulat, but which kicks in where Sehat Sahulat is unable to serve an individual. And there are 3 particular situations where Sehat Sahulat has limitations, other than the limitations than Shabnam referred to. One of them is that, of course, the KP has a universal coverage scheme. But in other provinces, the universal coverage concept is not yet prevalent, has not yet been espoused. So beyond a certain income level, beyond a certain proxy means test score, individuals may be poor, may suffer catastrophic health expenditure, but they would not have Sehat Sahulat. They will not be, their premiums would not have been paid under Sehat Sahulat. So the Asas Tahaffuz program is meant to cater to the individuals for whom healthcare is catastrophic, but who are not covered under the Sehat Sahulat program. And that's one dimension in which Asas Tahaffuz kicks in. The second is where the hospital is not impaneled. So if an individual is eligible, falls below the poverty line, but is in a hospital which is not impaneled, that person is not going to be transported from Balochistan to Karachi, but the Tahaffuz will kick in there. And the third condition where Tahaffuz will kick in is a situation where an individual has consumed his or her ceiling under Sehat Sahulat. That is where Tahaffuz will kick in. Over the last 2 years, we've set up the pilot, set up the institutional structure. We are currently piloting this program in Holy Family Hospital. And the Sehat Sahulat team is on the steering committee of Asas Tahaffuz to make sure that there are the right linkages and the potential for the right synergy. So our thinking within Asas is that although the time-bound outcome goal of 10 million families has already been achieved, but we would like to make these instruments for universal health coverage more robust, that there is every intention to roll these programs out in a very meaningful way so that the poorest of the poor are protected against catastrophic health expenditure, and that not just the poorest of the poor, but that anyone in the country is protected against catastrophic health expenditure. And we feel that by dovetailing Asas Tahaffuz with Sehat Sahulat program, we will be able to achieve this objective quite meaningfully. And likewise, in the similar vein, I'm sure that the Ministry of National Health Services and Regulation is taking all the measures to ensure that the quality objective in Sehat Sahulat is fulfilled robustly, that the value for money objectives are being pursued, and there will be active delivery against them. So we feel that these two programs dovetailed together will really help to build a very strong fabric of universal health coverage. Of course, this is a long road ahead. Universal health coverage is a goal which even the wealthiest nations find very difficult to deliver on. And of course, it would be the very first example of a country in our income bracket to pursue this very aggressively and to try and deliver on this objective through a combination of two different instruments, both the insurance-based model and the fund-based model for universal health coverage. So with great humility, I would like to say that this will be the first example in the world of insurance and the fund-based model combining to deliver on this premise. So I will just leave it at this and want to thank you once again, Nadeem and colleagues at PIDE. These are programs that require rigorous analysis, rigorous assessment, evidence at every step of the change, of envisaged changes. And I think that the model of poverty alleviation, collaborating with PIDE around the Street Hawkers initiative is a very good initiative to consider around these health initiatives as well. So I'd just leave it at that. I want to thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator.
would apologize for leaving early.
Senator, thank you very much. I appreciate your efforts, and certainly we are very, very happy to work under your leadership to make these things happen. Just before you go, I want a very quick reaction on your philosophy of healthcare, of welfare in general, for example. I mean, there are 2 or 3 concerns on welfare that have resonated around the world. One is the financial solvency of welfare programs, because they have to be financial solvent. Otherwise, what we've seen in NHS happen is for quality to get cut, and then eventually the welfare program to seek radical reform, in the sense that NHS is now being almost privatized. The other is the incentive structure for people not to overuse the welfare system and not to abuse it. So welfare systems are very difficult to craft and manage and hold together. So I just want your philosophical, your philosophy on this thing. Then we'll debate it after you're gone. But just very quick reaction to these 2 concerns about welfare programs.
Well, these are very profound questions. I mean, both these questions that you've tabled. I think with regard to the first one, it's a question of priorities. You have been chairing the planning. You chaired the planning commission for many years, so you have deep insight into how the government works. Currently, there was an assessment conducted to examine the quantum of untargeted subsidies. And the quantum of untargeted subsidies runs into trillions, not billions, into trillions. Then there are lots of inefficiencies and circular debts, and it's not just in the domain of electricity, but there are circular debts of various organizations. There are circular debts of various food item procuring agencies. And there's a lot of money which is being wasted and is hemorrhaging with regard to the state-owned enterprises. So all put together, and call it the outcome of inefficiencies over the last several decades, call it the outcome of lack of accountability over the last several decades, or you may want to label it a weakness of our accounting system. In cash-based accounting systems, such inefficiencies, such massive hemorrhage, such distortions are never evident. So call it what you like, but the fact of the matter is that we are just spending 200 billion on welfare from the federal government's purse. But here we have trillions parked away in the name of inefficiencies, in the name of lack of accountability, in the name of poorly managed systems, poorly managed accounting systems. So I think that the overall ticket of comprehensive welfare, even in this 5th largest country of the world, is not exorbitant and excessive when viewed in the context of the monies that are being wasted, and which is what the government is trying to grapple with. So that is how I would like to answer your first question. And I think the challenge is to withdraw those untargeted subsidies. The answer is in managing the SOEs better and having better visibility of the use of funds. And once you do that, there will be a lot of money available for welfare and for the visibility of that use. I don't want to blow the trumpet of how well we try to manage things at SRs, but one of the simplest things we did was to create a dashboard to illustrate where the 180 billion in SRs emergency cash went, where it actually went, right down to the tehsil level, developed an interface with our payment system, a real-time interface, and put everything out on the website. Here is where the 180 billion went, right down to the tehsil level. And it was not rocket science. Developed in-house with no consultancies fees, developed in-house by our IT colleagues. So what I'm trying to say is that once you roll back the untargeted subsidies, manage your accounts better, create better visibility, plug the hemorrhage in the SOEs, there will be a lot of money available for real welfare. Secondly, the incentive structure for people, the appropriate incentive structure so that people do not overuse and abuse the welfare system is a real challenge. But we have to be conscious that we do not try and structure the incentive mechanisms in such a way that the better off take more advantage of these welfare schemes. And one of my consistent worries in universal health coverage, although I come from the world of health, and I deeply belong to that space, deeply belong to that space, and I couldn't stamp the universal health coverage concept more, wearing my international hat. But in a country like Pakistan, when you have universal health coverage schemes, and me and my siblings and my mother and my cousins with permanent addresses of KP are entitled in that schemes to universal health coverage, the worry is that we are better positioned, me and my siblings and my cousins and friends, all with permanent addresses of KP, are much better positioned to draw benefit from that than a poor woman on the street. Also with a permanent address of KP, she does not have the same leverage as I and my cousins and siblings have. And I think the challenge is to make sure that these, and this is not an overuse question, because your question, Nadeem, was about overuse. Your question was about incentives and how those incentives could be regressive for the poor. And I sense that the corollary to your question was what I'm answering as well. So I think the challenge for PESEL is that while universal health coverage is the right way to go, but that this system at the end of the day should not be overused by people like all the people I know in KP, to the detriment of the woman on the street. And I think Shabnam is stressing on that too. PESEL is cognizant, and I, as a sitting senator now, am highlighting that too. So these are challenges we have to address as we go. But before I sign out, I just want to say that we are really, as a government, we are really very conscious that while we want to push the needle on welfare, we also want to make sure that the incentives are such that the poorest of the poor will take benefit. Thank you again.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Very well explained. We'll carry on the discussion after your exit. Thank you. Thank you very much. So with that, let me go back to Shabnam Bibi. Shabnam, you wanted to say something further. So why don't you do that? Then we'll go to the rest of the panel.
So just carrying forward from what Dr. Sania just said, my concern, and I think the way we see it at the Planning Commission with the expansion as well, that first we need to ensure that we are expanding at a pace that we are able to provide through the issuance of these cards, the services that, are promised. Because at the back end, we need to have a very, strong health infrastructure in place for these people to access the health services. So the Planning Commission, although health is a devolved subject, but with COVID-19, as many of you may be aware, that we had put in about 70 billion to strengthen the health infrastructure across the 144 districts of Pakistan, depending on, what the provincial needs were. And but there are, it is also, I think I've been in last week, I had a meeting with the KP, and they have come up with some policies and of how they're going to, how they would be allowing what guidelines for impaneling the public sector hospitals, because that has to also, be tackled in a very careful manner. All across the globe, we see health insurance, but the state insurance, my concern is also the sustainability of this entire initiative. Because I estimated with I mean, if somebody could allow me to share a slide. So I can, I did this for one of the.
Please share your slide.
Okay, I'll
If you're able
just
to share
put
your
this
slides,
one
please
on
do.
here. Okay, let me just see if I can share the. So myself and Faisal, we were working on. So what you see over here is this. This is what it shows. You know that. In fact, let me go back to the families. Estimate the resident families in Pakistan. So the permanent resident families, because we are now looking at an expansion. I've put in two, poverty estimates here. One is by World Bank, which they say after COVID-19, they're estimating, it to be 41%, and IMF. So just to give you an approximation, but at the back end, we'll just change it and we can, come up with any figures that you feel are appropriate. There's a lot of, people are estimating poverty at different levels, but I'm giving just two scenarios over here. So the permanent resident families that we have are 43 million. And the currently enrolled are 14 million. What we are what is estimated who are under the poverty line by the, if it is, we take it as 27%, are 14 million. So should we be giving priority to them, or would we be able to sustain it for these 43 million? And as Sania very rightly pointed out, that those who are affluent will have a much better access to to the universal health coverage offered through that. Again, if you look at these premiums, we tried to work out the premiums, and here it is reflected the current health budgets that we have for these provinces. So this takes a very large chunk of the health budgets. And in case of we were reviewing AJK and GB. So if we are covering all the families, so it goes beyond even the health budgets that we have for them. So I think there is a need to balance how we would want to use there is certainly a need to expand the fiscal space for health, but also to see that how should we be, is this going to be, is it more appropriate to invest in expanding this health coverage, and that also to all the resident families in those provinces, and if it is for one province at the Planning Commission, we try to do our estimates for all across Pakistan really. So this is a matter of concern to us, having this sort of monies, because what we estimated with Faisal, that if we expand it to the entire, country, we are looking at 152 billion per annum to be paid as premium. At the utilization that we see, the historical
Dr. Shabnam, can I ask a question? The premium is going to be paid by the government?
Yes.
Okay.
We are providing this premium at the moment. Faisal, can you elaborate on this?
It's a single premium model. It's a single premium model.
जी, so premium जो है अभी जिस तरह हमारे पास expansion के लिए आया, तो we are looking at these programs that how much more money is going to go into it. So these premiums which are there are, there is what was estimated that if we do the universal health coverage all across to all the resident families, this is coming up as per Faisal's, estimate, this was 152 billion. And the utilization at the moment is around 4.8%. So that comes up as, and then there is this, rate of, there is a percentage that is held by the insurance company, the rest is returned. But there is still a huge loss, that we incur on this amount. And if you see, this is the present one, which is 26, but this will expand to 80, and with this,
if I can intervene, I just want to understand the system. I don't think we've understood the system very well. The system is that the coverage will be given to people. People will apply for this thing, and then the government will pay the premium. Who is managing the system? System is being managed by insurance companies? Who's managing the system?
Sorry, I didn't understand your question. You were talking about the system of this the health insurance companies, of course.
Health insurance company, is it the ministry? Is it the government? Is it the health insurance, Adamji Insurance, or somebody who's managing the system?
Yeah, there is a health thing. They take on. I think Faisal would be in a better position to explain to you the entire process.
Ask Faisal Sahab to explain it.
Ji, let me add into that. Just definitely, social health insurance program is an insurance model in which the public sector procure the services of an insurance company through nationwide bidding process on a fixed benefit package, on a fixed premium health insurance premium rate, annual
this
health insurance premium.
This is a
So,
private company that's going to manage it?
yes, the company which was hired by the Sehat Surat program is the State Life Insurance Corporation of Pakistan in 2018. So during 19, 20 and 21 year, the State Life is implementing the Sehat Solar program in the districts, in the focus districts. Recently, the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa has also conducted their new procurement for their province, and they also hired the services of State Life Insurance Corporation. So it's a provincial decision on either they want to conduct an independent procurement or a combined procurement. So KP opted for an independent procurement, and they are paying 3,000 rupees premium per family per year for the provision of the services.
And
While federal government, in collaboration with the Punjab, also hired the services of State Life Insurance Corporation, and we are providing services at the rate of almost 2,000 rupees per family per year.
Okay, but there is no cost to the people. So if I enroll in the system, you will pick up the premium, and I have no cost in the system at all.
Right now, no.
No, so that is my concern.
So that is a big design issue. Should people pay for part of the service or not? I've been in the US, as you know, for many years, and I've had health insurance there for a long time. But I pay roughly a premium of, if I remember right, something like it's about $500 a month. So I pay about $6,000-7,000, maybe more, $6,000-7,000 a year. Plus I have a deductible. Plus I have to, there's a deductible annually. I have to pay $2,000. First $2,000 I have to pay, then the insurance picks up. Also, I have to pay for every visit to the doctor. I have to pay 20% of the cost. So
that is what I mentioned. If you remember, in my initial when I opened it, I said that we are not using a mix. The countries are all across the globe are using a mix. We are all only state dependent. And we are expanding now from from below poverty to all across all the residents of the province. And my concern is, would we be able to sustain this?
नहीं, ये जो आपने बात की है शबनम साहब, ये बड़ी अच्छी बात की है. ये तो बड़ा फेमस एरो का पेपर था इस पे, हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस पे, और एरो इज अ फेमस नोबेल प्राइज विनर, वेयर ही टॉक्ड अबाउट, एंड काफी लोगों ने, स्पेंस वगैरह काफी लोगों ने काम किया. व्हाइल यू हैव, इफ यू डोंट हैव सम काइंड ऑफ स्किन इन द गेम, then obviously you don't pay. Ji, Faisal Sahab.
I like to just add one thing. The Sehat Solar program is being managed by the National Steering Committee. National Steering Committee has a representation from all provinces, from all partners, on all ministries, including Planning Ministry, the Finance Ministry, and it is being headed by the Ministry of National Health Services Minister. That proposal was actually placed in the National Steering Committee, that there should be a co-pay or a contributory mechanism on which the some sort of premium has to be contributed by the beneficiaries. But at that time, the steering committee anonymously decided not to do that. We are again promoting one more thing, that now as the government is trying to promote the program to universally, so there should be a contributory mechanism, and I totally agree with that, with Madam and with all the team member. But then for the below poverty, it has to be by the public sector side. I totally agree with that. But for the people who are above poverty, if we take the National Socio-Economic Registry scale, for the above poverty, it has to be contributory mechanism. But then it has to come through the National Steering Committee. And technically, I totally agree with you. One more thing, Dr. Nadeem, you have to understand that we are not providing outpatient services in the program. We are only providing indoor healthcare services. And internationally, the utilization pattern on such schemes is as a bit higher on the upper side as what we are doing. We are facing the utilization rate in Pakistan. So with the passage of time, these all things will also be incorporated into the program. But then again, we actually depending on the decisions by the National Steering Committee, which is being represented by everybody. But I
Fair.
agree with Madam Shabnam that it has to be a contributory mechanism. Thank you.
I just wanted one clarifying question because Sanya spoke about Ehsaas Tahaffuz. If we are going to include all the resident families, would we still be needing, would this not be parallel? Because at the moment it is for the below poverty, but we've already moved ahead and have started giving cards to all the resident families of some of the provinces. So in those provinces, how does your program and Ehsaas Tahaffuz work? Because if we were not giving, it makes sense. Ji Faisal, this is to you.
Ji madam, ji, thank you, madam. Madam, me and the team of Ehsaas program, our teams work together, and they have their criterias. First of all, the patient has not to be a beneficiary of Sehat Solar program. And second of all, the families who are applying for the assistance has to be in a catastrophic health expenditure. And number three, if that family is of Sehat Solar program beneficiary, then the financial limits which we are offering has been totally consumed. So these are the three options which are they providing, and their main objective is that the National Socioeconomic Registry, which currently we are using, is almost 10 years old. So there are new families who have entered into the poverty area. Second, madam, in the Punjab and Islamabad and Gilgit-Baltistan, the program has not yet been expanded universally, not yet. So that's the evaluation criteria which we provide to the Ehsaas team.
But how about KP, where you've given 100%, you know, and you are providing 100% health insurance through the card? So would you still be needing Ehsaas Tahaffuz over there?
Madam, they have this access to our system, and they do check the beneficiary status of the family. If that patient is already enrolled or somehow he has not been provided with the health card, then my team and then Sehat Solar program team work kicks in, and then they enroll the families. But then they are not being provided by the services through the Tahaffuz program.
Can I ask a question, ji? Before I go to the rest of the panel, इसके finances आपको कितने 3 साल हो गए ये काम करते हुए? 3 साल हो गए ना?
5 years.
5 years. 5 years में, and it's a PSTP project. तो उसमें कितना deficit जा रहा है? या नहीं जा रहा deficit?
Madam, I like to add one thing. The KP is not PSDP. The KP is their funding from the recurrent side. The Punjab is not.
मेरा मतलब ये है कि ये government के ही funds है ना. अगर हम Ehsaas के through दें, हम PSDP के through दें, they are government funds. We don't have any other stream coming into supporting this insurance program. जो जिस तरह नदीम हक साहब ने बात की.
मैं तो सिंपल सी बात पूछ रहा हूँ जी कि अभी तक क्या इकोनॉमिक्स है इसकी कि जी are we making money on it, losing money on it, who's covering the deficit? मोटी बात तो जरा पहले कर लेना, then we'll get down to the nitty-gritty.
जी, जो the premiums which we have given to insurance company, we have almost on average we have utilized 60% of the finances which we have given to the insurance company, 60 to 68%. It varies from district to district. So right now we are working within the premiums. We haven't seen any cumulative province or a region. I'm not talking about district, but there are districts which we have overconsumed.
But overall, the project is
overall it's around 60 to 65% of financial utilization.
You're saving about 30-40%, okay, can be carried over into the next year.
It is to be shifted back to the public sector after the completion of the program contract period.
Fair enough. Now the second question is the coverage ki baat I'm not clear. Ki coverage, you are saying it's going to be the whole country, so I'll get coverage too? Mancha will get coverage too?
Yes, if the KP, anybody who has a national of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa or our target district in which the program has been universally expanded, yes, they will get the coverage. So we are working on the permanent address on the national ID card.
But I'm a little worried. Ek Haath Pe was supposed to be a welfare program, a poverty program, but now it's become a broader welfare program. Whereas I said, I'm just using the name of a rich man. Ke Mancha or Hussain Dawood will be covered too, because we have to make it universal. Again, the name has no significance that they're very rich. The question is, is this policy that you have considered, या कि welfare सिर्फ उन्हीं को मिलेगा गरीबों को?
No, in the
That's
in
the
the districts
universal.
which are being shifted to universal,
ठीक.
everybody with that address will get a health card, including you, including myself,
Okay.
regardless of the poverty. But that's the government decision. That's what we are implementing.
Okay, fair enough. ठीक है जी. Okay जी, let me bring in Khalid, Dr. Mahmood Khalid. Go ahead जी, Dr. साहब.
Gee, I would need to exit. This is such interesting discussion, and if I could
Go ahead,
have a
you say your
little
last, you complete your presentation and say your last words before you go, and I'll bring in the rest later. Go ahead.
जी, आपने बिल्कुल, I think you have got, already picked up from what I wanted to communicate, because I am a little concerned for the same reasons. जो डॉक्टर सानिया ने भी बात की और आपने भी बात की कि हमारे पास हेल्थ बजट्स वैसे बहुत कम है. So अगर हम would we be able to sustain this कि हम तमाम all across Pakistan हम जितनी resident families हैं उनको हम health card दे दें, or would this solve the issue, and then the utilization, as Dr. Sania said, would be more for those who are affluent as compared to those who are on the roads. Should we be, again, मैंने जब बात की फैसल से, तो the two questions that came to me जब public sector hospitals की empanelment की बात आती है, तो क्या हमें, should we be strengthening these health infrastructures? Should we be getting the private sector to come in and incentivizing them to build up this health infrastructure at the back end? या हम उन्हीं पैसों से जो हमारे पास हैं हम उसको तमाम को expansion पे लगाएं? So these are some of the questions where I would really love to have the inputs of the audience, that what should be the way forward. And क्योंकि इस वक्त government has started moving towards providing the सेहत सहूलत card, जैसे अभी बताया फैसल ने, and there is no premium which is to be shared by any, it is not according to your level of income or anything. So I would love to have your inputs onto it. Unfortunately, I have a CDWP to go to, but I would be in touch, and I would this would be very useful for us, and we will be constituting a technical working group, because this is a flagship program and it has to go on, but then again within certain parameters which we together can define. Thank you so much for arranging this.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shabnam. I think it's very kind of you to prompt us to do this, and it's kind of you to come here. Absolutely, we will carry this forward. We'll carry the discussion forward, not just now, but with you again. And we are
Thank
here
you so
to.
much. Thank you. This is really appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Mahmood Khalid sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Let me just share a few slides of mine. Is it visible?
Abhi to nahi. Abhi to nahi.
Just hold on, sir. Is it visible now?
Ab aa gaya, theek hai.
Ji. Thank you very much, sir, for inviting me to give my opinion on the Sehat Sahulat program. Although the time to prepare was very short, but still I managed some pieces from our research which we have carried out at PIDE by the help of our graduate students, as well as a few studies of the PIDE staff on. So it's basically an understood concept. There is no two opinion that the health expenditures help in terms of improving the overall welfare of the people, as well as promote the economic growth of the country. So it's basically a kind of a human capital investment, which beyond just the social welfare protection has many other advantages. Some studies internationally have come out that if in terms of a fiscal multiplier, 1% increase in the health expenditure overall, whether it's done by the government or by the individuals themselves, leads to about 0.38 per capita % increase in the GDP. But in case of Pakistan, the situation is opposite, in the sense that here we have found that it's more towards the paying capacity of the people, which basically drives the motivation for health expenditure. For example, one of the studies basically points out that as the people get rich, then the health expenditures basically increases. In our own study at PIDE, we basically found out in terms of the out-of-pocket health expenditures that often the people don't want to spend, and they consider health as a non-priority item unless they are fixed into really serious health problem. So the people really don't understand the value for investment in the health. So therefore, it's really important that the government has to come in to the system, and rightly so in the case of Sehat Solos program, where they have identified the poorest of the poor. Some of the reasons are also attributable. If we look across the countries, Pakistan have never been spending very richly in terms of the health. If you look at the overall expenditure as a percentage of the GDP, we are not comparable with even the countries which are closer to us, rest except for the Bangladesh case. And even if you look at the actual expenditure percent, the actual monetary terms of the expenditures, we are far below in terms of what the countries were spending even when they were in the same stage of what we are as of today. So even higher levels of development have really not helped us in terms of spending what the due share of the health should have been. So the main reason for promoting such types of schemes such as Sehat Sahulat program is basically this out-of-pocket expenditures, and rightly identified by Dr. Faisal that it can lead to people, they can draw basically people into the poverty. Although the program right now just focuses on those poor which are already poor and are spending in terms of the health, but ideally speaking, anybody who has a threat of going into the poverty trap because of such higher levels of the expenditure should be targeted. And that has also been identified by the earlier panels as well, that the vulnerable groups should also be added. Now, coming back to the overall framework of this Sehat Solar program, basically this is the campaign which is under the SDG target of SDG target 3, in which the universal health coverage is what is mandated, and it is considered that by 2030 we have to achieve it. We have national visions which are really elaborately talking about that, the National Health Vision 2016-2025. And in the universal health coverage, what is basically considered as the overall what level of the population should be covered, what services should be covered, and what type of financial costs should be covered. In the case of Pakistan, we have actually done all the three. In some countries, one of the aspects is covered, that how much population should be covered, or what types of services or the health related disease should be covered, and what should be the percentage of the share which the government should carry on. In our case, basically, we have done all the three. And as it has been identified that in case of the KPK, we are even going beyond the poorest of the poor, and we are targeting the overall population. The idea is to provide access to affordable, high-quality healthcare, including treatment and curative services and others. And the basic tool for that is basically the financial risk protection, which is provided through the risk pooling or the health insurance schemes. The program basically prioritizes the vulnerable at the outset, and it effectively leverages the private sector as well, because once the private hospitals are empaneled, they also get to do business, and over time the quality of the services or the cost can really be covered. Sehat Solar program also covers each and every aspect, and that is also one of the concerns, and I'll talk about it in the next slide, that it basically covers all types of treatments, and that includes high cost treatments such as the renal failures, the cancers, and others, which can really jeopardize other sorts of financing options which are presently available for managing the saving of lives or improving the quality of the life of the people. So the real question which one needs to ask is that, does it provide good value to the money? There is one institute which is basically developing the low and middle income countries' disease control priorities, which should have been reflected in the current Sehat Solar program, and it identifies that what type of cost-effective diseases which can be covered with such types of universal health programs. But unfortunately, in our case, that has not really taken into account. For example, the renal failure is not one of the very cost-effective types of diseases which should be covered, and it's more towards the social protection. Now, on the other side, the population health coverage or saving more lives by investing in other services, such as even the OPD care, is also, or the other preventive types of health services can save certain amounts of the money. We can target even the Delhi's or quality-based methods of saving or improving of the life in terms of the health outcomes, rather than focusing only on the universal health protection. The second question, which is important, is that is it really addressing the significant burden of the disease? Although this is good as a political slogan that the people are basically health insured and they can look after their health outcomes, but is it really covering all those significant diseases which are really burdening Pakistan? That has not been touched upon in the discussions or the policy papers. For example, the epidemics, the disease burden which is available. The second question, which has also been talked about here, is that is it really sustainable? It's a PSDP funded project, and we have other types of expenditures also, as the member social protection identified, that the public sector hospitals are getting huge sums of money. So how can we sustain it over the long run? That's really a question which one needs to answer. And you have also identified that without the co-payments, in which the people are really making sure that only the required services are provided, and there are some cost which is shared by the individuals, not just by totally by the government, is the only sustainable model. Another concern is that what type of out-of-pocket expenditures are they really covering? In the table, you can see that the inpatient services are just a fraction of the total out-of-the-pocket health cost. So just by protecting maybe 20-30% of the cost does not mean that the whole individual or the whole expenditure has been covered. And the same was also identified by one of the studies which was conducted at PIDE, in which the earlier program, which was run under the BISP program called as the Wasila Sehat program, there were many shortcomings or the weaknesses which were identified, and that was acknowledged by the BISP partners as well, in which one of the reasons was even the quality of the services which were provided, the lack of information or awareness among the people that were basically driving the failure of the services or the low utilization. So it was recommended in the report that there has to be awareness, there has to be OPD inclusion in the same Wasila Sehat program in order to have better outcomes. There should be more empaneled hospitals. The institutional capacity has to be developed, and the other types of disease such as the epidemic and the disease burden should also be included. PIDE have also done some good research under the MPhil program, and I'm not going to go into details of that, but these are all already provided on our websites. But the main conclusion in them is that the Sehat Salut program is something which is nudging the individual, because there was no concept of the health insurance before, but it is not sustainable in the sense that it does not take into account all the necessary fiduciary requirements for a sustainable financial insurance program, such as the co-payments, the middleman. The concept of the insurer is basically to take into account that how to minimize the cost burden. But in the present circumstances, as also identified by Dr. Faisal, that whatever amount would not be utilized would be turned back to the government. So in a sense, the insurance provider would like to do business and they would like to go up to the 100% expenditures rather than saving. Whereas in the insurance risk pooling model, you always try to cut down the cost rather than making sure that all is spent. The same goes for the hospitals. They would like to spend all the amount rather than saving. So essentially, the agency services within that system of financial insurance is missing. So the challenges which are in front of the Sehat Salut program and which they should really take into account is, the first one is that the 24% of the total out-of-pocket expenditures are incurred on the inpatient services. So how can we say that this is a total health coverage model where a certain other expenditures are not considered? The inpatient services are about 20 and 80% of the health services are basically outpatient, which are not considered. Rehabilitation costs are not considered. Initial referral costs are not considered. Cost of medicines, revisit, that's also not included. The cost efficiency by design is not possible because it's not voluntary or co-finance. And there is a lack of evidence in terms of the willingness to pay beyond the limit as well. So the targeting of the population is also very vague because we really don't know that what type of age or cause we are taking into account. The public finance is only there for covering the... Sir. Sir. So we need to scale up by including the other fragments, as I mentioned, that we need to take into account the vulnerable accounts as well, population as well, the patient satisfaction services for the hospital performance or the ranking or the quality of service is not there. And there is poor quality, which can lead to readmissions as well. And that's also identified by the GIZ actuarial report, which the federal government has already done for their actuarial part as well. So in the end, what we need to do is that we need to have a roadmap where health insurance can be just one component, which can cover for the medical care, but we need to include the other aspects as well, such as how to manage the drug pricing. The government hospitals are not empaneled because they don't have the incentives and they're not willing to come into the system. The health management information system dashboard, which was identified, is giving some information, is not working on the website. So really, we don't know that what kind of effectiveness analysis can be done. And finally, we can have the sustainability of such types of resources by going for the retention fees, as the government of KPK is doing, have health tax earmarking, such as the tobacco taxes and as well. But we have to consider the political economy of the financing as well, scaling up of the program by including the other segments of the population, and finally consider the primary healthcare system to be there in order to manage the outpatient systems. And there are models which are available. For example, this is the Chinese model, in which they have basically taken into account all these things and given a long-term roadmap in terms of how we can effectively manage this. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. अच्छा जी, सारा रिजवी साहब आप बोलिए, then I'll go back to Faisal साहब जी. Dr. Sara,
Nadeem, can you hear me?
we can hear you fine. जी बोलिए.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Nadeem, for the opportunity, and thank you, Dr. Faisal, for being here. Please let me know as soon as you can see my presentation. I won't take more than 6 to 7 minutes. Is that okay, Dr. Nadeem?
Fair enough. Go ahead.
Great. So could you see my screen now?
Ji, we can.
Excellent. So some of the points have been mentioned, and I hope, Dr. Faisal, some of this is valuable. We have to play it as a team. We have to own this program. There are issues. Some of the main figures that we've been talking about, but I just wanted to mention them because they haven't been mentioned yet, is that 9 million cards have been issued, but the utilization is only 2%, which is very low. Okay, so these are some of the statistics, though we have been talking about this. And at the moment, annually, the scheme is costing us PKR 18 billion, but some estimates tell us that we can save 2 billion just by improving service quality. And there is a fear that in the next year or two, if utilization increases or trebles, then our premium would go up by 150%, which is what everybody is mentioning about the issue of financing. So I'm going to be talking a lot about benchmarking, different case studies. The detailed references are here, and if anybody wants the presentations, because there are lots of details and solutions mentioned over here, but I won't be able to talk about many of them, all of them today. And I'll just start off with this Herbert Spencer model. Actually, this flow I've made, so I haven't sourced it, but it's based on a theory by Herbert Spencer, who was a biologist and a sociologist, so it works out well for us, that the health insurance scheme coverage and universal health insurance only works in partnership when everything else, all these other substructures, are working effectively and efficiently. So I know that the SRS umbrella is trying to work on some of these issues, and I try to mention and list them over here, but possibly some of the other things that we need to work on is, you know, basic income and formal sector employment, or insurance coverage for informal sector workers, which is happening in the Middle East. Domestic workers are covered by HI. So we have an employer partnership as well. A better tax system coverage, housing, water and sanitation, and education, and then also to work on pensions and savings. Okay, so moving on, how do we solve the problem of the enrollment? Well, number one, we're waiting for the Khushhali survey data. There's no news on when that may be coming through, but we're using very old data for eligibility. I think 5-6-year-old data, if I'm right. We could use last year's DHS data and provincial government women health survey data, which all has household income, and that would immediately increase eligibility. And that would also start improving enrollment. Now, as regards identifying missing people, this is important. I wanted to mention it because right now we're not covering refugees, the 2 to 4 million missing women, and about only 3 to 5% of disabled populations are registered in NADRA. So we need to find a way of solving this problem as well. Raising awareness and benefits and building trust with HI is very important for impoverished populations, because we do have a culture of mistrust, especially because right now we are only dealing with hospitalization. And as you know, poorer people, they don't really have health-seeking behaviors with regards to hospitalization unless it's an emergency situation. So, and more about that on the next slide. And one of the benefits from our neighbor is that the Ayushman Bharat Yughaja scheme in India, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, they have targeted to enroll 500 million people in 2022. But they're sort of stuck in the same place that we are. They only have 10 million cards issued and very low utilization as well. So they went a bit forward because they have a large gap to fill in the next 2 years. And they did a customer survey, and they found out that one of the reasons why the utilization for hospitalization and inpatient services is low is because of the wage loss risk. And so people are afraid of employer punitive behavior, daily wage losses, and the impact on their family. And that is why utilization is low. So they're looking into providing wage loss benefits to encourage utilization. Finally, we need to also think about digital literacy, because right now what the scheme is that there are beneficiary centers, and that is only covering 14 to 20% of Pakistan. So the rest of the people are dependent on registering themselves or enrolling themselves electronically. So we need digital literacy if we want people to get enrolled. And then lastly, possibly instead of just the beneficiary enrollment centers, enrollment and referral could be facilitated through BHUs and RHCs, which is quite a successful running program in Pakistan so far. And I move forward, I'm skipping my findings over here on the side, might come back if we have the time. And how do we overcome service limitations? One of the ideas is, and again, I'm going to quote from case studies, Philippines, and I think the name for Philippines is Kalu Sughan Pangalatan scheme. It has not been cost effective, and it is failing because it targeted only hospitalization costs and tertiary sector services. Whereas Thailand's scheme has for universal health coverage for the poor has worked because it has targeted primary healthcare services. And a Parinam Foundation in India, which has done longitudinal analysis, has found that when you target primary healthcare services in 20 or 30 years, tertiary care costs go down. So that way it turns out to be a cost-effective program, especially for developing countries. Another option very quickly is that right now we are running on FFS, which is fee for service. So one way of perhaps improving quality of the paneled hospitals and the practitioners is opting for capitation. And I heard a few years ago that we were trying to pilot this, but we don't know what the results are again. Another option, I'm not saying this because I'm a sociologist, the references are here in the blue box. Nordic countries have come up with solutions of partnering. Right now, in answer to Dr. Nadeem's question, yes, it's the SLIC that is bearing the brunt of the burden of paneling the hospitals and of service delivery chain. So what's happening is that customers go to visit the health, if they are enrolled, they visit the health facilitation officer at the hospital, and then a DMO visits them within 24 hours and assesses their claim, and the service goes through. But if we have and there are obviously a lot of gray literature complaining about the system because related to delays and in claims, delays and services. So what could happen is that, and I know this will cost money in the beginning, but if we start, but it will create jobs and it will save money in the long run. If we start hiring HSWs, health social workers at hospitals, and CSWs, community social workers, to facilitate, at BHUs and and RHCs where LHWs are already sitting. And these people would then have multiple tasks. They're already trained for this in monitoring, needs assessment, referral, supporting the client, and also improving transparency and quality of services. Now, another very important 2 points related to Mexico and China is that Mexico failed because of federal level plans and one party policy. So so China came in with a solution, and which is to depoliticize this, own it nationally, so that no matter which political party it is, it's our scheme altogether. And and we already have benefits of provincial devolution. So maybe having independent committees. Right now, stakeholders are in charge of the quality and assessment and the transparency and the service chain. But we need to instead move away from stakeholders or partner with the stakeholders through independent committees. Possibly social workers could also help in this, in creating a separate complaint and redressal system to improve quality. And finally, people have already mentioned, previous speakers, about the public sector enrollment and improving paneling. But this is really important. Sri Lanka has succeeded with UHC for its impoverished populations through utilizing a mixed pool system. Now, this is very important for us if we want to financially sustain this. So we could use dedicated and general tax revenues. We could, like I mentioned, seek solutions for health insurance of informal workers, housewives and children. There needs to be a partnership of private health insurance and microfinance health insurance. This little box over here, if you're emailed the presentation later, already shows a small case study in Pakistan that I worked on, where government schemes, Islamic Finance, Microfinance Institute, and microfinance banks are actually working together. And the only problem is that they are only providing in-hospital services, and only the Islamic finance provider is providing BHU services provision, which according to the customer satisfaction survey is preferable for people. Okay, another benefit that we have is we have a beautiful Zakat and Baitul Mal system, and our state budget allocation is only 2%. So if we start increasing the percentage and mandating fixed percentage and some of the developed world actually has a 15% health budget allocation. So if we take it up to even 8 to 10%, then we're playing it safer. And again, we mentioned monthly assessment. Right now, we have an annual assessment system, but it is not published, even though somebody was mentioning that it's on the website, but it's not. So we really need monthly assessment of costs and claims so that we have better risk analysis and better projection analysis on a quarterly basis. And then something that's really interesting is that Brunei has introduced NRR. They are using natural resource reserves as a form of co-pooling for health insurance. And I don't want to name the provinces and the regions, but some regions have their advantages in minerals and oils, and perhaps state industries like PIA and steel mills. Eventually, if they all are providing a fixed ration or a fixed percentage for health insurance, it would help. So that's it. And the last thing that I wanted to discuss is this Universal Health Coverage Index. Soon we'll be asked to report for it. And the only things that seem to be missing over here are our catastrophic expenses, which we have a cap for. I think it's 300,000 rupees. So if you notice, the index is measuring it at 100%. So we need to take this up. And as regards preventive care, we are not we are not providing services for preventive care at all. And given coronavirus and infectious disease burden in Pakistan, we really need to start concentrating on this area. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Nadeem.
Thank you very much, Ji. Very good comments, all of you. I must confess, I still don't understand what we are doing. Idris Khaja Saab, bataiye zara, aap kya keh rahe hain?
So my question is about number one, utilization. That as many people mentioned, Dr. Sara as well, that there is low utilization, and one of the reasons is wage loss. So probably the program is essentially for the vulnerable and people living in remote areas, and these people cannot afford to move to the urban areas for healthcare. So probably at some point in time, if we can think of telemedicine. I know only inpatient services are covered, but to increase enrollment, if we can think of telemedicine, at least for the advice, because by the time people reach hospital, it's already too late. So in order to convince them that you need to visit a hospital, probably telemedicine can be considered. Secondly, someone mentioned that a number of hospitals, including public sector hospitals, are not impaneled. So I don't understand why the public sector hospitals cannot be made to get themselves registered by way of a notification. And third, I know from personal experience, a psychiatrist told me that some abuse has already begun. For example, psychiatric diseases are not covered under the program. And what is happening is that the private hospitals are registering them under some other disease. and then the psychiatrist is giving them advice.
Dr.
These are my
Safdar Suhail. Dr. Safdar Suhail.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. This is, first of all, this is excellent that PIDE is having this seminar, and as we can see the kind of issues being raised, I would just make a few quick comments, starting with Dr. Sara's presentation. And I should also note that my association with Social Protection Resource Center has been, we have been working on health, and we carried out a comparison of Sehat Sahulat program with the provisioning by employee social security institutions. And that's a published work. And we could see very clearly that the quality, coverage, and the costs by the employee social security institution were far better than the Sehat Sahulat program. Dr. Sara didn't put it that way, but what I concluded from her presentation was that the experience of such instruments and choices that we are exercising in Pakistan is not very inspiring. One approach is that you factor in all the possible risks, and while we are in the design stage primarily at this moment, we factor in the international experience, regional experience, and improve our design. That's one approach. The other approach is that we revisit the basic questions again. Here we have talked about the data. Dr. Faisal Faraq has given us a figure of almost 60% out-of-pocket expenditure. Dr. Shahzad of NIH, or I think University of Health, puts it 89%. Now, what is Pakistan's out-of-pocket health expenditure? The reference data that we're using is 2016 National Health Accounts, and there the out-of-pocket expenditure estimate is based on, I think, 2010 back of the envelope data. So we have not even bothered to scientifically determine the out-of-pocket expenditure in Pakistan right now, which is one of the major objectives of any such scheme. If the Sehat Sahulat program cannot significantly reduce the out-of-pocket health expenditure and cannot improve the health indicators, then why are we heading on this road in this way, just to tick the box of universal health coverage? That, look, I mean, we have provided health coverage to every citizen in the country and we are doing good. Now, sorry, if we take a very rough estimate of out-of-pocket expenditure of, let's say, 75-76%, basically means that the healthcare market is a private sector healthcare market, and given the uniqueness of the healthcare market, the externalities in the existing markets should be kept in mind. And then major questions should be asked: that should government be the main provider of health, or is it the health sector, and is it the same behavior of the private health sector that would continue? Then we, like Dr. Khaja said, that already we have complaints of abuse. In my view, finally, if a country is weak in regulations, one should not open up more competition, A. Secondly, I would say that we need to talk more about the
Did I get that right? Did I get that right, Safdar Sahab? You said if you're weak in regulation, don't open out competition.
Further, don't
basically
open up more competition.
So basically you're saying carry on the weak regulation without a market and subject the people to the misregulation and the stupidity.
Yeah, well, that's a matter of putting it, but we know very well what we have done in terms of regulation in the health sector. So if a country by its own official admission says that 50% of the drugs on the market are spurious, And we have all these health commissions doing almost nothing. So, and still, I mean, we need to improve our regulatory capacity before we seriously embark upon another challenge to our regulatory regimes. So that's what I basically meant. But finally, I would say that the larger questions need to be addressed, particularly the linkage of work-based social security is extremely important. The health provisioning, in-kind health provisioning by employee social security is a good model, and we should perhaps expand it. We must roll out the Sehat Sahulat program, and as Dr. Sara has given us many elements of an effective supervision on monthly basis. Punjab Health Department has good automated dashboards. So this is wonderful that we are having this discussion, but I think institutions like PIDE and other academic institutions should play a much bigger role in watching what is happening, the design problems, and then locking in with the decision makers for further improvements of the scheme. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ji. Last question, Ji. Hisham Qureshi Sahab. Hisham Qureshi Sahab.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I'm Hisham Muzaffar. I did some research with PIDE on the Sehat Sahulat program, and Dr. Faisal was kind enough to provide me the opportunity. So I would like to just raise a few questions. That in this program also, one of the major points of literature was my Wasila Sehat program, but I found that awareness issue in this program is also a major concern. Awareness issue of the insurance itself. And then also I found out in my locale, when I went there, that insurance of the health card itself is also a major problem for those people who need it the most. So I would like to know that how do we plan to improve that? Second, I assume that there are lots of corrective measures which are to be required in the people, for the people who have the health card, but the point is, do they really need it? Because there were many people back then in Sargodha. What I found was that people who had cars, who owned houses, they used to drive to the hospital with their health card and wanted to claim the benefit. So I would like to know that, of course, universal health coverage is one in KP, but in parts of Punjab where we don't have that yet, how does the government plan to cater to those questions? The other thing is that I found out that people who have the health card, they are unaware of the benefits which they can attain on this. Expiry of the health card was a major problem. They were unable to find out whether the card was expired or still valid, and they kept on chasing how would they be able to utilize the most benefits of the card. Second, the other one of the most important thing which I find is the distribution of the health card at the time of implementation. That I think is the most important, because I was told that the government had hired very casual raw laborers who did not know anything about the card, and they went out in the open distributing the cards. So I think that will have a major impact on the people, because I assume that's the winning moment. That's the first time if a citizen or if the underprivileged people are being addressed about the health card, and that is the first person. So if that person who's distributing the health card to the population, if he or she is unaware of the complete benefits, how will those benefits be transferred, communicated to those who need them the most? So I assume that how does the government plan to address these questions in the future?
Okay, very good. Thank you. Iftikhar Ahmed साहब, बस इसके बाद और कोई क्वेश्चन नहीं, ठीक है जी? कोई कमेंट जल्दी से Iftikhar Ahmed साहब.
Assalamu alaikum, sir. My question is this: that as the insurance, as I learn from the discussion that the insurance plan is very expensive, and people are not utilize the premium of insurance. So my suggestion is that, sir, if at the public level in the remote area, public government build the dispensaries consisting of 2 or 3 beds, then it is very well valid, and the people will quickly access to the health issues. Sir, what are the your opinion about this suggestion?
Thank you. Actually, I'll come back to Dr. Faisal. Dr. Saab, you got a lot of questions and issues, but I have one final question which I find amazing. Who did your background work? Who did the background research in this? How did this program start? With what research? Who were the people who designed this program? Dr. Saab.
Thank you very much. I think we are the one. We means the federal government and the provincial governments, along with our technical partners. They
Who
are the
tech-
one who actually designed that program.
technical partners?
Based technical partners include we have three technical partners to be more precise. One is the WHO, the other is the GIZ and the KFW. Both are the German government.
अच्छा, तो यानी कि डॉक्टर साहब मैं आपसे एक बात
the
पूछना
social
चाहता हूँ
protection.
डॉक्टर साहब, ये सारे टेक्निकल पार्टनर्स आपके फॉरेनर्स हैं, यानी कि हमारी जो सारी पॉलिसी जो चीजें बनाते हैं वो सारे फॉरेनर्स बनाते हैं, हम तो नहीं बनाते ना. तो यानी कि बेसिकली आप तो इम्प्लीमेंटिंग एजेंसी हैं, जो GIZ वगैरह कहते हैं वो आप इम्प्लीमेंट कर रहे हैं, ठीक है ना. ये तो हम बात
That's not right. That's not right, Ji. It's the requirement which is being forwarded by the government. To be more precise, Ji.
Even if the
requirement just like to add, let me add one thing. मैं partners की बहुत सारी बातों से मैं सुन रहा भी था. I totally agree. Communication is a very big challenge. We are all mashallah learned people, and we have access to internet. We have access to many different forms of activity. Agar we don't have the information about the program, then I think the poor person who is below poverty is beyond the program. First of all, the Sehat Solar program is not universal health coverage program. Universal health coverage includes many things. This includes the primary health care, the community level interventions, the secondary healthcare services, the tertiary healthcare services. UHC is a holistic sort of a thing, is a holistic thing, and the government of Pakistan is working on the UHC benefit. Sehat Solar program is universal indoor coverage. It's a part of the overall broad picture, but it's not the UHC. We are not replacing universal health coverage. डॉक्टर साहब ने भी एक बात बिल्कुल सही कही इससे पहले जो डॉक्टर साहब थे कि वी आर नॉट प्रोवाइडिंग आउट पेशेंट सर्विसेज, वी आर ओनली प्रोवाइडिंग इंडोर सर्विसेज. अगर आप जो DCP 3 के तहत जो गवर्नमेंट ऑफ पाकिस्तान एसेंशियल पैकेजेस ऑफ हेल्थ केयर सर्विसेज डेवलप कर रही है, उसके अंदर डिफरेंट फोरम्स हैं. उसमें पब्लिक लेवल इंटरवेंशंस हैं, उसमें प्राइमरी हेल्थ केयर इंटरवेंशंस हैं, उसमें सेकेंडरी फर्स्ट लेवल हेल्थ केयर फैसिलिटी और टर्शियरी लेवल है. Sehat Solar program is only covering the tertiary level and the secondary level. We are not covering primary health care. We are not covering community health care interventions. So ये थोड़ा सा difference जो है ना, we have to keep that in mind. Our objective is catastrophic health expenditure. Anything which for catastrophic health expenditure इसमें आता है. Out of pocket हमारा आपका बिल्कुल I agree. 2000 जो last जो health accounts का है उसके अंदर 60% plus minus है. As we are speaking, नया हेल्थ अकाउंट्स आने वाला है और हो सकता है अगले 1-2 महीने के अंदर नया हेल्थ अकाउंट्स की रिपोर्ट पब्लिक हो जाए. उसके अंदर फिगर्स डेफिनेटली चेंज होगी. यस, 2015 और 16 के अंदर जब सोशल हेल्थ प्रोटेक्शन के ऊपर काम करना शुरू हुआ था कि वी हैव टू प्रोवाइड हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस या फाइनेंशियल प्रोटेक्शन, then we worked on OPD, we worked on the indoor healthcare services. Then finally it was decided through different international literature that the most easier program with good gatekeeping is through indoor healthcare services. To start the program with the indoor healthcare services so that the financial protection हम लोग उनको provide कर सकें. इस वक्त तक भी जो जर्नल जो इंटरनेशनल लिटरेचर सर्वे हुआ है पाकिस्तान में, जो इंटरनेशनल लिटरेचर सर्वे हुआ है उसके अंदर से मेजॉरिटी लोग जो कि पॉवर्टी लाइन में हर साल गिरते हैं, और मेजॉरिटी लोग बिकॉज ऑफ कैटास्ट्रॉफिक हेल्थ एक्सपेंडिचर्स हैं. वी हैव विटनेस फैमिलीज जिन्होंने अपना कोई ना कोई घर के अंदर कैंसर, डायलिसिस या कोई कार्डिक का इशू हुआ, तो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल दे यूज देयर फाइनेंसेस, सेविंग्स, एंड देन दे सेल आउट देयर प्रॉपर्टीज. और बेचारा फैमिली वाला बंदा सरवाइव करे या ना करे, एवरीबडी कम आउट टू द सड़क पे आगे बिकॉज कि उन्होंने अपना सब कुछ उसके सर्विस के लिए बिकवा दिया हुआ था. So I think we have to work more on the communication strategy. Below poverty में तो I think हम उसके बाद आपकी बात एग्री है, लो लोगों की इंफॉर्मेशन, मगर हम लोगों के पास भी लो इंफॉर्मेशन है. दूसरा अगला मैं ये कहना चाहता हूँ साइकेट्री डेफिनेटली प्रोग्राम में कवर्ड नहीं है. थोड़ा सा प्रोग्राम का मॉडल जो इम्प्लीमेंट करते हैं, वी डू इन पैनल हॉस्पिटल्स, we panel hospitals on packages. For example, ہمارا اگر کسی کے ساتھ ہاسپٹل کے ساتھ اپینڈکس کے اوپر لیٹ سے 20-30,000 پہ ڈیل ہوا ہے تو وی ڈونٹ پے مور دین دیٹ. وی ہیو اے سرٹن گیٹ کیپنگ میکنزم جس کے اندر ہر ہاسپٹل میں ہمارا کاؤنٹر ہوتا ہے, ہر ڈسٹرکٹ میں ہمارا ڈسٹرکٹ میڈیکل آفیسر ہوتا ہے جو کنفرم کر رہا ہوتا ہے. یس, آپ کی بات بالکل ٹھیک ہے. دیر آر انسیڈنسز جہاں ہاسپٹلز نے پیشنٹس کے ساتھ مل کے ڈفرینٹ اسٹریٹجی یوز کی ہے ٹو گیٹ دا ایلیجیبل ایڈمیشنز ان کلیمز. وی کاٹ دیم, بٹ ہو سکتا ہے 80% کاٹ کر لیا, 20% پھر بھی مینیج ہو گیا. سو یہ چیز ہم اس کو کور کرتے ہیں. ٹیلی میڈیسن, ڈاکٹر صاحب نے ایک بات کی ٹیلی میڈیسن کی, آئی ٹوٹلی ایگری, ہونا چاہیے, بٹ پی ایم ڈی سی ابھی تک ٹیلی میڈیسن کو ایکنالج نہیں کر رہا. سو اس لیے ہم نے پروگرام میں پرائمری ہیلتھ کیئر اس میں انکارپوریٹ نہیں کیا ہے. پرائمری ہیلتھ کیئر جس طرح ڈاکٹر سارا رضوی نے بات کی, پرائمری ہیلتھ کیئر از اے ویری ڈیفیکلٹ پروسیس. ہم لوگوں نے کیپیٹیشن کے اوپر, پرائمری ہیلتھ کیئر کے اوپر تقریباً پچھلے 3 سال سے اس کو مارکیٹ کر رہے ہیں, لوگوں کو کانفیڈنس میں ایڈوکیسی کر رہے ہیں. Finally, WHO agrees and KFW agrees کہ پرائمری ہیلتھ کیئر کو ماڈل کیا جائے. فیڈرل گورنمنٹ کے ساتھ کیونکہ پروونشل اٹانومی ہے, پروونسز اپنی انڈیپینڈنس ہے, فیڈرل گورنمنٹ WHO کے ساتھ اسلام آباد میں پرائمری ہیلتھ کیئر کو پائلٹ کرنے جا رہے ہیں. پیکج کون سا ہے؟ اسینشیل پیکیجز آف ہیلتھ کیئر سروسز کا پرائمری ہیلتھ کیئر پیکیج, وہ with providers based on capitation. So WHO کے ساتھ ہم یہ پائلٹ کر رہے ہیں. اس وقت ساری چیٹ ہو گئی ہیں, بیس لائن سروے نیکسٹ ویک سے ہمارا اسٹارٹ ہو جائے گا. وی آر ہوپ فل کہ 1 اپریل سے لے کے اگلے سال 30 مارچ تک ہم اس کی کیپیٹیشن کو پائلٹ کریں گے on certain families, 900 families of سولر پروگرام and 900 families کنٹرول ہوں گی. So hopefully within a year ہمارے پاس ریزلٹ آ جائے گا. Once وہ ہمارے پاس ماڈل فائنل ہوگا, then we can go to finance کہ وہ پرائمری ہیلتھ کیئر کو آپ کس طرح سے فائنینس کریں. KFW نے 2 ڈسٹرکٹس ان KP and 1 ڈسٹرکٹ ان گلگت بلتستان ایک اور ماڈل فائنل کرنے لگے ہیں. ابھی فائنل نہیں ہوا, بٹ جیسے وہ بھی فائنل ہو جائے گا پرائمری ہیلتھ کیئر اس میں بھی سروس کر لیں گے. دوسرا یہ کہ دیکھیں بڑا امپورٹنٹ پروگرام جو صحت انصاف صحت سہولت ہیلتھ انشورنس پروگرام کا میں امیجن کرتا ہوں, فرسٹ ٹائم ان دا ہسٹری آف پاکستان ایک انرولڈ فیملی کے پاس جو کہ پہلے ابھی تک بلو پاورٹی تھی, وہ اس غریب آدمی کا پہلی دفعہ یہ آپشن ہے کہ وہ پبلک میں جانا چاہتا ہے جہاں فری آف کاسٹ پرائیویٹ سروس ملتی ہے فار سپورٹ, یا وہ پرائیویٹ میں جانا چاہتا ہے. تو آئی تھنک صحت سہولت پروگرام نے فرسٹ ٹائم ان دیئر لائف ان کو یہ آپشن دی ہے کہ دے کین گو ٹو اینی ہاسپٹل جہاں ان کو سروس مل جاتی ہے. ان کو لگتا ہے پبلک سیکٹر جائے سروس ملا, پرائیویٹ میں جائے ہیلتھ کارڈ از دیئر ٹو پرووائڈ سروس. بہت سارے ایسے ایریاز ہیں جہاں پبلک سیکٹر کے علاوہ کوئی فیسلٹی نہیں ہے, مجبوری ہمیں لینا پڑتا ہے پبلک سیکٹر ہاسپٹل. ان پبلک سیکٹر ہاسپٹل ابھی بھی لوگ جا رہے ہیں اور آؤٹ آف پاکٹ ایکسپینڈیچر کر رہے ہیں. پروگرام وہ آؤٹ آف پاکٹ ایکسپینڈیچر کور کرتا ہے. فار ایگزامپل رحیمیہ خان کی ایگزامپل ہے, شیخ زید ہاسپٹل رحیمیہ خان وہ واحد ہاسپٹل ہے ساؤتھ پنجاب میں جو اپنا ہارٹ کا کارڈیولوجی اور آنکولوجی کی سروس دیتا ہے. کوئی ہاسپٹل بھاول نگر بھکر راجن پور میں ایسا نہیں ہے جو وہ سروس دے. پہلے وہ پیشنٹ سے پیسے چارج کرتے تھے, اب دے آر پرووائڈنگ تھرو ہیلتھ انشورنس کا. سو پبلک سیکٹر بہت سارے ایسی ایریاز ہیں جہاں پرائیویٹ سیکٹر ہے, پبلک سیکٹر ہے ہی نہیں, بہت تھوڑا ہے, پیشنٹ ادھر جاتے ہیں. میں آپ کو ایگزامپل دیتا ہوں, ڈاکٹر شبنم کی بہت اچھی بات ہے کہ بلوچستان میں ہاسپٹلز نہیں ہیں. آئی ایگری ہاسپٹلز نہیں ہیں. ابھی کہاں جا رہے ہیں وہ لوگ پیشنٹس؟ ابھی وہ کراچی جاتے ہیں, ابھی تربت سے دائیں ہر جگہ سے کراچی جاتے ہیں سروس لینے کے لیے. جب وہ کراچی جائیں گے تو وہاں ہیلتھ کارڈ کے ہاسپٹلز ہیں, دے کین ایکسیس سروس فرام دیر. ہمارے پاس 2 آپشن تھی جی. فرسٹ آف آل ہم ویٹ کرتے ہیں کہ جی اس جگہ کے اوپر جب تک سرکاری ہسپتال نہیں بنے گا ہم سروس اسٹارٹ نہیں کریں گے, یا ہمارے پاس یہ آپشن تھی کہ ہم اس کو سروس اسٹارٹ کرتے کم از کم وہ دوسرے ڈسٹرکٹ میں جاتا ہے وہاں تو سروس مل جائے گی نا اس کو. سو دیٹس واٹ وی ڈوئنگ. اگر بلوچستان میں ہم ہیلتھ کارڈز دے رہے ہیں تو بلوچستان میں جو لوگ اس وقت دوسری جگہ پہ جا رہے ہیں سروس لینے کے لیے وہ ان کو کیٹاسٹرافک ہیلتھ ایکسپینڈیچر سیو کر سکتا ہے. ٹھیک ہے ہم لوگ ہسپتال بار خان میں یا کسی اور جگہ پہ ڈیولپ شاید کوالٹی نہیں کر سکتے, مگر اگر وہ کوئٹہ جانا چاہتا ہے جو کہ ابھی بھی جا رہا ہے, وہ کراچی جانا چاہتا ہے, وہ لاہور آنا چاہتا ہے, ملتان, وہاں آ کے کیش لیس سروسز ایکسیس کر سکتا ہے. چلے اگر اس نے, ہمارا یہ اوپینین ہے کہ اگر وہ 4-5 ہزار روپے ٹرانسپورٹیشن پہ خرچ بھی کرتا ہے, 10 ہزار روپے کرتا ہے, تو کم از کم آگے سے 5-6 لاکھ روپے کی 3 لاکھ کی سروس تو ویل کر لیتے نا. سو وٹ ڈو یو وانٹ ٹو ڈو, آئدر وہ ڈینائی کر دیں گے یا آپ کو فیسلٹی دیں. تو اس لیے ہمارے پاس ہاسپٹل, آئی ایگری کوالٹی ہاسپٹلس ہر جگہ اویلیبل نہیں ہے, مگر کم از کم وہ دوسری جگہ پہ جاتے ہیں تو سروس تو لے سکتے ہیں نا. آئی تھنک ہمارے میں سے زیادہ بہتر وہ انڈرسٹینڈ کر سکتا ہے جس کے اپنے فیملی کے اندر کیٹاسٹرافک ہیلتھ ایکسپینڈیچر ہوا ہے. آئی ایم ون آف دوز فیملیز. I was young, my father, I'm mashallah in a very healthy family, بہت اچھی ہے. My father had head and neck cancer. We had to spend amount on his treatment. مجھے پتہ ہے وہ کس طرح پنچ ہوتی ہے. ریسنٹلی مدر میری ڈائلسس میں 4 سال ڈائلسس کر کے وہ ان کا انتقال ہوا. آئی نو کہ کس طرح کیٹاسٹرافک ہیلتھ ایکسپینڈیچر دینے پڑتے ان فیملیز کو جو کہ ساری زندگی پرائیویٹ سیکٹر پہ جاب کرتے ہیں, پھر فائنلی ریٹائر ہو کے گھر بیٹھ جاتے, جن کا اور کوئی ایکسپینسز نہیں ہوتا, ہر چیز آؤٹ آف دا پاکٹ ہوتی ہے. So I face that challenge. So I think I'm sure ہم لوگوں میں سے کوئی بندہ جن کی فیملی کو کوریج نہیں ہے, ان کے بزرگ ہسپتال گئے تو ان کو وہ پنچ لگا ہوا ہے. So I think below poverty ہو یا above poverty ہو, ہر ایک کے پاس فائنینشیل ہیلتھ پروٹیکشن ہونی چاہیے. اینڈ دا پروگرام از دا واحد آپشن جس کے تھرو ہم فائنینشیل پروٹیکشن دے رہے ہیں, ود دا آپشن کہ وہ گورنمنٹ میں جانا چاہتے ہیں 100 بسم اللہ, مگر اگر وہ پرائیویٹ جانا چاہتے ہیں تو دا سروسز آر دیر, وی آر پرووائڈنگ سروسز. امپورٹنٹ چیز یہ ہے کہ جو ٹیکس پے منی ہے اٹ ہیز ٹو بی سیوڈ. ہمارا انشورنس کمپنی سے جو کانٹریکٹ ہے اس میں 90% پیسے جو اسپینڈ نہیں ہوں گے, اٹ ول کم بیک ٹو گورنمنٹ آف پاکستان ایٹ دا کمپلیشن آف دا پروجیکٹ. So which we are assuring, and I think that's a very better benefit. اگر utilization for example low بھی ہے تو then we can also have that وہ جو پیسے نہیں spend ہو رہے وہ واپس آ جائیں گے. I just want to share you experience on screen on that. دیکھیں جب میں آپ کو اس وقت کرنٹ یوٹیلائزیشن بتا رہا ہوتا ہوں کہ آج کی یوٹیلائزیشن میری 3% ہے فار ایگزامپل, تو آج کے دن میں بہت سارے ایسے ڈسٹرکٹس ہیں جو ایئر 1 کے اندر بھی ہیں جس کے اندر قدرے انفارمیشن کے اوپر یوٹیلائزیشن لو ہے, مگر بہت سارے ایسے ڈسٹرکٹس ہیں جو ایئر 5 پہ بھی ہیں. ایئر 5 والوں کی یوٹیلائزیشن ہائی ہیں فائنینشیل اور ایئر کارڈ یوٹیلائزیشن, اور ایئر 1 والوں کی بہت سارے لوگوں نے صحیح بات کی ہے, آپ کے شام نے بہت اچھی بات کی ہے کہ انفارمیشن کمیونیکیشن میں بہت پرابلمز ہوتی ہے, ڈیفینیٹلی پرابلمز ہوتی ہیں, مگر ود دا پیسج آف ٹائم انفارمیشن بہتر ہوتی ہے. میں ایک سلائڈ شیئر کروں گا جی. یہ ابھی سلائڈ ہم نے ریسنٹلی جو ہم نے ایویلویشن کی تھی وہ یہ سلائڈ ہے جی. ہم نے اس کو پروگرام کے اندر پیشنٹس کو اس اینگل سے ایویلویٹ کیا ہے کہ جتنے سال وہ پروگرام کے ساتھ فکس لنک ہوئے ہیں. جو فیملیز ہمارے پاس اس وقت 5th ایئر کے اندر ہیں, 5 سال سے ان کو ہیلتھ انشورنس پرووائڈ کی ہوئی ہے, ان کی یوٹیلائزیشن پیٹرنز جو ہیں وہ 8% کے اراؤنڈ موو کر رہے ہیں. اور جو ڈسٹرکٹس ہمارے پاس 1 ایئر کے اندر ہیں یا لیس دین 1 ایئرس کے اندر ہیں, ان کی جو یوٹیلائزیشن ہے اٹس اراؤنڈ 5%. جب میں آپ کو ایوریج ٹوٹل بتاؤں گا تو اس میں بہت سارے آج کے دن میں ایسے ڈسٹرکٹس ہیں جن کا ابھی 1 سال کی یوٹیلائزیشن بھی نہیں ہوئی ہے. سو obviously ان کی یوٹیلائزیشن جو ہمارے ایکسپیکٹڈ کے حساب سے 2-3 پڑے گی, مگر جیسے جیسے وہ فیملیز ایکسٹینڈ ہوتی جاتی ہیں ان کی یوٹیلائزیشن پیٹرنز ہائی ہوتے جاتے ہیں. سو وی ایشور کہ بھائی ان کی کم از کم یوٹیلائزیشن پیٹرن جو ہے نا وہ بہتر ہے. ایک سوال انہوں نے پوچھا تھا کہ جی وسیلہ صحت کے بارے میں. یس وی ہیو, ہم نے فیصل آباد کو وسیلہ صحت سے بہت چیزیں لرن کی ہیں, بہت ساری چیزیں ایسی جو ہمیں نئی چیزیں پتہ چلی ہیں. فرسٹ آف آل یہ پتہ چلی ہے کہ جو بیسٹ کا جو سروے تھا صحت اپنا PMT اسکورز والا وہ 2010 کا تھا, اس میں بہت ساری فیملیز مس ہو گئی ہیں. ٹوٹلی ایگری ود دیٹ. ان کے آئی ڈی کارڈز مینول چونکہ انٹری ہوئی ہے, ان کے آئی ڈی کارڈز میچ نہیں کرتے. میرے لیے بہت امپورٹنٹ ہے کہ اگر ایک بینیفیشری ہے میں اس کو کس طریقے سے بایو میٹرکلی ویریفائی کر سکوں, اور بایو میٹرک ویریفیکیشنس کے اوپر بہت چیزیں آتی ہیں تاکہ ایک کا بچہ دوسرے کا بچہ یا کسی کی بیگم کسی کے ساتھ اٹیچ نہ ہو جائے. وی ہیو ٹو میک شیور. تیسرا یہ مین امپورٹنٹ چیز ہے, پروگرام کے ایکسپینشن کے اندر ہمارے اوپر بہت ساری چیزوں کو ایویلویٹ کرنا ہوتا ہے. اس وقت جو بہت فوکس کیا جا رہا ہے پولیٹیکل گورنمنٹ سے, ریئل ایکسپینشن, جسٹ بڑھا دو as soon as possible. We try to achieve those targets by expanding. I agree, ہمارا فوکس کوالٹی کے اوپر کوشش کرتے ہیں ہم لوگ. ہم نے اپنا ایویلویشن کرائٹیریا رکھا ہوا ہے. پنجاب کے اندر کوئی بھی ہیلتھ کیئر کمیشن سے رجسٹرڈ بغیر نہیں آ سکتا. ہمارے اپنے کوالٹی اسٹینڈرڈز ہیں. ایک 160 پوائنٹ کا ہاسپٹل اسٹینڈرڈ ہے. ہم ٹرائی کرتے ہیں 100 سے اوپر والے پیشنٹ ہاسپٹلس کو لیں, بٹ کچھ ایسے ایریے جہاں اسپتال ہی نہیں ہے. لیا کے اندر ہمارے پاس کوئی ہاسپٹل 80 پوائنٹ سے اوپر کا نہیں تھا. وی ہیو ٹو ریڈیوس دا اسٹینڈرڈ. مگر کم از کم یہ ہو جاتا ہے جو اس کی وہ ٹریٹمنٹس ہیں وہاں سے وہ ریفر ہو جاتا ہے, وہاں سے اگر وہ ریفر نہیں بھی ہو سروسز کوالٹی فری اسٹریٹجیز ان کو مل جاتی ہیں. اچھا دوسری بات, میڈم سارا نے حال میں ایک بات کی تھی کہ ہیلتھ انشورنس سے کنٹریبیوشنز لینی چاہیے, امپلائی کنٹریبیوشن. آئی ایگری, بالکل کنٹریبیوشن ہونی چاہیے. کنٹریبیوشنز کے بغیر پروگرام چل نہیں سکتا. بٹ پاکستان کی 7% اکانومی سے فارمل ہے. اگر ہم امپلائیز سے کنٹریبیوشن بھی لیتے ہیں تو 7%, باقی 93% کو کیا کریں گے. ہمیں we have to find out the strategy. ایک strategy یہ تھی کہ جو نادرا کے اوپر آپ لوگ 5 سال کا رینیو کروانے جاتے ہیں تو نادرا کے اوپر ایکسیس دیا جائے بسپ کے سروے کا below poverty 32 PMT we will pay the premium, but for the above poverty everybody has to pay, everybody contribute 1,000 rupees, we can do that. But this is not my decision. These decisions, we promote these, we advocate these decisions, but then the political government and the bureaucratic government has to decide on that angle. We promote contribution. Once they decide, we can make sure that وہ implement ہو جائے. اس کے بعد ہیلتھ فائنینسنگ پالیسی بالکل ہونی چاہیے جی. میڈم کی بات سے میں اگری کرتا ہوں اور منسٹری اس وقت ہیلتھ فائنینسنگ پالیسی پہ کام بھی کر رہی ہے, بٹ اس کے لیے ایک بہت امپورٹنٹ چیز ہے فسکل اسپیس انالیسز. That fiscal space analysis has not been done yet. جیسے وہ fiscal space analysis ہو جائے کہ we are come out with the healthcare financing policy. So I agree, there are problems, there are very issues which we are facing, but the good thing which we are providing is the catastrophic health expenditure. Informations کی بہت کمی ہے لوگوں کے پاس. I agree. We are working on the communication strategy. Communication strategy کے اوپر ہم لوگ 6 districts میں اس کو pilot کرنے جا رہے ہیں with the help of GIZ, and inshallah we'll do that. So I think monitoring system ہمارا بالکل we need lot of improvement. جس لیول کی ہم لوگ ایکسپینشن کر رہے ہیں نہ ہمارے آرگنائزیشنز اس لیول اس اسپیڈ سے انکریز کر رہی ہیں, نہ ان کی جو HR سسٹم ہے وہ انکریز کر رہے ہیں, بٹ وی آر ٹرائنگ ٹو امپروو سلولی اینڈ گریجولی. اینڈ آئی تھنک ود دیٹ, آئی تھنک اس آج کے فورم کے اوپر مجھے بہت امپورٹنٹ چیزیں کچھ لوگوں کی طرف سے پتہ چلی ہیں کہ واٹ آر دا ایشوز. آئی تھنک بینیفیشریز کی انفارمیشن سے زیادہ ضروری ہے کہ ہم جو ڈیسیژن میکر جو کمنٹس کرنے والے جو فیملی جو ٹیکنوکریٹس ہیں ان کی کمیونیکیشن بھی ہمیں بہت زیادہ ضرورت ہے تاکہ دے شوڈ نو وٹ وی آر ڈوئنگ اینڈ ہاؤ وٹ پوائنٹس آر وی یوزنگ ٹو امپروو دا سروسز. اور اس کے اوپر آپ لوگوں کی اگر ہم لوگوں کو ٹیکنیکل انپٹس مل جائیں دیٹ بی مچ بیٹر. تھینک یو ویری مچ. تھینک یو.
Dr. Sab, thank you, Dr. Sab. Thank you very much. It's been a very good webinar. Healthcare, health insurance is the challenge of the 21st century. It is the biggest challenge any country can face. The US, which is probably the most advanced country in civilization, has been unable to do it and is struggling with it. It is struggling with it. National health system in the UK is being dismantled even as we speak. They have appointed private sector agencies right now to set it up. Japan's healthcare system continues to struggle along. All healthcare systems are struggling. Even socialist economies fail to provide a healthcare system. I really think we need to think about this very deeply and think about it very carefully and design these things very, very carefully. But in any case, you made a very good beginning and it's very good. And I think you're being very cautious and correctly cautious that we should scale it up very carefully. Scaling it up is not easy, and abuse of the system is very common, very prevalent, even in the current the healthcare system that we've got. I know in a small organization like PID, I know the way healthcare system is abused by our employees, and I have no control over it. In the government, I was in the planning commission, I know how it was abused, and I have no control over it. And there is lots of, as I said, I remember Arrow and Zach Heiser, many people have written, and obviously that thing has been implemented. That's where deductibles and co-pays came from. So there's a lot of stuff that needs to be done and thought through. I'm not by any means an expert in this, nor do I pretend to be. But I think, quite frankly, I'm hoping one day, it will not happen in my lifetime, I'm hoping one day somebody in Pakistan will tell me that we made our own policies. GIZ, which is an NGO from Europe, comes and makes our policies, and other people, and I keep hearing that again and again. But then it doesn't matter. After a while, we'll learn. It's a good start. And maybe we'll learn. It'll take us longer, but we'll learn that ultimately what pays is your own research and not somebody else's research. And ultimately, everybody has to innovate. There's no such thing as copying from another system. This dictum that we have, learn from other countries' experiences. There's no such thing as learn from other countries' experiences. Yes, you learn, period. You learn everything that you can. And then you design your own system as innovative as possible, as best as you can. When Tiger Woods started playing golf or Roger Federer started playing tennis, their style was very different from earlier styles. Yes, they learned from everywhere. But they hired the best coaches they could. Even today, if you see Ivan Lendl trains Roger Federer, I could go on, but I think we had a great webinar. We'll do this again. Faisal Saab, thank you very much. You've been very kind with your, mashallah, you've answered the questions very well and very kind. We will bother you again. Inshallah, we will try and keep this debate alive. Sara Jafri, very good. Thank you. Mahmood Khalid Saab. And I'm very grateful to Senator Sania for being here and Shabnam Sarfraz. So with that, let's all agree to meet again. We will, inshallah, keep on this dialogue, because I think most important part is to develop a local dialogue, and then maybe we can graduate to making our own policy. Thank you very much. All the best, folks.